Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and it is Thursday, March the 31st, and I am here to go over the NBA DFS 5-game main slate for tonight. I'd like to thank you for joining me here for this breakout, and hopefully this helps you build some really big winners for this evening. If you'd like to join us, check us out. Get into our Discord, get these winners we're putting out there. You can go to dfscoachtalk.com, and there are several different opportunities to sign up. We just announced last night, actually, really more so this morning, a new membership that we brought in that runs from April 1st, which is tomorrow, through the end of the NBA playoffs, which is June 19th, if it goes 7 games in the final. With that membership, it's offered only to the first 25 people that sign up for that membership, and it's only going to be 2 payments of $68.50, and it gets you everything that we have at Coach Talk. You get all of our NBA action to finish the regular season all through the playoffs, which we'll do every single game, every single card, and then you get all of our MLB action, I should say, which starts on the 7th. So that's coming up very quickly. Very excited about that. And then we've got, for sure, the PGA, which this next week is the Masters, which is going to be so exciting. Can't wait to get that one going, and all of our weekly PGA action. So sign up. We'd love to have you for sure. Join the family. And we've been super hot, especially in Prize Picks. We've been kicking some butt. All right, let's get into this game. These games, I should say, there's 5 of them. The first one is 7 o'clock. It's the Philadelphia 76ers and Detroit Pistons. Philadelphia is favored by 9.5. The total is 223.5. 116.5 implied for Philly. 107 for the Detroit Pistons. Coming into this game, injury-wise, Philadelphia, nothing. They are at full strength. Detroit, however, Corey Joseph questionable, which could mean more playing time for Killian Hayes if he sits. And then we also have Chris Smith, who is out. As far as the game set here, Philadelphia is 28th in pace. You know, they're going to play some slow down ball with Harden, several dribbles, posting up or flaring out the ISO for Embiid as well. So they're 28th in pace. Detroit more toward the middle of the pack at 13th. Defensively, Philadelphia's barely remaining in that top 10, but they are 10th. And Detroit has struggled on the defensive end at 24th. First night of a back-to-back for Detroit. Not that that's the biggest thing in the world with a lot of their youngsters playing. But again, you know, we've been keeping these Detroit games fairly close when there's a lot of them that are double-digit spreads. This one's almost a double-digit spread at 9.5. But the Pistons have shown a little bit of fire here. They're battling. They're not winning a ton, but they're battling in games and staying in them, which makes them much more DFS relevant, their games in general. So there are a few things you can, a few places to go. Do you want to pay up for a 10-2 James Harden? Certainly playable commodity here. Or the 11-5 Joel Embiid, same thing. He's been on this, you know, MVP run of late, and he should continue that against the Pistons today. So either pay up for these guys, it really works. It's just a matter of the rest of your build. I think both of them could absolutely smash here. I think it stays close enough that they're going to be terrific plays. The other guy that I like from the Philly side a little bit is Seth Curry. Or not, he's with Brooklyn. I don't mean Seth Curry. I meant to say Tyrese Maxey. There we go. He's 6'5", which isn't a bad price, and we know that he can jump up and have some big games. And if Joseph sits, the Pistons' backcourt will be a little thin. I think Maxey is fair at 6'5". He's certainly the third option here. The other option at that price tag for Philly, you can always go to Tobias Harris at 6'7". He remains cheap, but again, you're going to get some hit and miss games from him. So you got your two pay up options, your two mid-level to value kind of plays here with Maxey and Harris. I definitely want some exposure from the Philly side. Not afraid to dive into this one. Decent implied total at 116.5, and a decent team total, overall total in the game at 223.5. From the Detroit side, Cade Cunningham's been terrific. He is 8'7", which is a pretty big commitment. I'm sure he'll get Matisse Thybulle defense, which, you know, it's been good, but it hasn't been total shutdown like we've seen from Thybulle in the past. So Cunningham definitely of some interest here. I think it's smart if you're going to play, like, you know, for me, I'm looking at one pay up and one medium price for Philly. You want to have some correlation on this Pistons side, because if this game did happen to blow out and you lost a lot of minutes, that's really going to hurt. So who's going to, you know, keep them in the game? I think certainly Cunningham's your top choice at 8'7". Again, a little bit tougher defense, though, from Thybulle. I'm hoping Corey Joseph's out, because Killian Hayes, the last couple of weeks, really more like the last 3 or 4 games, is starting to play basketball. He's really starting to get it. Things are clicking, and I think he'd be a terrific value play at 4-3 if Joseph sits. Sadiq Bey has been up and down, but at that 7K number can definitely get it done. Marvin Bagley's getting a lot more minutes. He's being backed up a little bit by Kelly O. Kelly O's backing up him and Stewart, but you get good prices on all those guys. Bagley's 6'1", Stewart 5K, but it is tough going against that Philadelphia interior. Kelly O off the bench is only 3.5, but for me, it's more the key guys here in Hayes, Cunningham, and Bey, and possibly Bagley. I'd like to have, again, about 2v2 here and make this one of my key games. And it's not a runaway key game for anybody, I don't believe. It is the second lowest total of the 5. So that is a bit of my contrarian stance right away. This next game is the game that everybody's going to stack. It is one of the highest totals of the year, 243.5. Brooklyn's only favored by 2, and it's incredible. We haven't had this all year. Both teams have an implied total over 120. You know, if you listen every day, when I have both teams over the 115 implied, that becomes my focal point game of the day. Not with 120 each, it's unbelievable. So certainly a bunch of exposure to this game. My only concern is it's such a standout game. People are going to go absolutely ballistic. I think you're going to see guys with 6 or 7 guys out of this game. And I get it. It makes perfect sense. You still have to land on the right guys, but I don't know if I'll go that crazy. I think you can still have good exposure to that first game and cherry pick these last 3 games and come out of, you know, maybe 4 guys, 3 guys out of this game if you hit the top, you know, top dogs. Certainly a lot of salary here is got to be spent as well. So again, I'll repeat it because it's so noteworthy. Brooklyn by 2, 243.5 total, 120.75 for Milwaukee, 122.75 for the Brooklyn Nets. Wild. Injury-wise, Giannis probable. I can't see him not playing. Everybody's in for Brooklyn except Ben Simmons, who's still out. So that's the other thing that makes it not as fun from the DFS side, because nobody's sitting. It's a lot more fun when we get a key guy out and all those usage numbers jump up, assist ratios, etc. But here we go. Here's the pricing, and this is where it gets very difficult. Drew Holiday's 8.3, Chris Middleton 7.8, and Giannis is 11.8. So you have the 3 big pay-up options there. All fantastic plays. Let's face it. It's just a question of where you're going to go. Can you only fit one of them or 2 of them? Probably just one for me. You also have a cheap Brook Lopez at 3.9 who's starting, getting mid-20s minutes now and has, definitely a path to get there. I think he's a decent play. Not really going to go deeper than that here, though. With all of that usage from those 4 I mentioned, I don't think it's worth it taken a flyer on Matthews, Connaughton, Portis, even Allen, Hill, Ibaka, Carter. Those just, they all get some minutes here and there. Obviously, Portis at 6K is tempting, but I just don't think he's getting the same punch of minutes as he did before Lopez came back. Therefore, it's a bit risky. On the Brooklyn side, of course, you have the two big studs, 10-7 for Kyrie and 11-4 for Durant. So even though this is the key game, everybody's going to have to make some decisions. Nobody can just play all the prices here and be on down the road. It's just not going to work. So you're going to have to make some decisions based on matchups, coach speak. We'll be watching beat writer info throughout the day. We'll be sharing information in Discord, because really how this all pans out is going to have a lot to do with who's matching up with whom. So on the Nets side, last time worked out for me by playing Durant and fading Irving. I'm not as confident that's as good of a play this time. Yes, Irving will get Drew Holiday defense, but Durant is probably going to get Giannis defense. And then he's got a couple of good buddies in there in Lopez and Portis and even a little bit of Middleton to help out with Durant. So 11-4 Durant, of course, you can always like Durant, but I think I'm leaning a little more towards Kyrie here. Would like to have one pay up on each side here, but here's the guy that I mentioned earlier and made the mistake of mentioning in Philly, but Seth Curry is going to be in my lineup today. He's only 5K, and it's just a perfect setup because you've got all this attention on Kyrie and Durant. Milwaukee gives up a ton of threes, and it's just a perfect spot for Curry to spot up, get some wide open shots. And I also think he'll get some peripherals today because, when they do run at him, he's going to find some open guys, a Drummond or a Durant or a Claxton, whoever's in the paint, he's going to find some guys. And he's a better passer than people give him credit for. He just doesn't get to run the show that often. So I think you're going to see Curry in a role today where I think he'll do very well. So he's certainly in my plans. Bruce Brown has been very steady. He's hit threes just about every game in the last week. He's only 5'6", and then Drummond is very fair at 6K at the center spot. So, this is no hot take. I like 4 guys from Milwaukee and 4 guys from Brooklyn. Who doesn't, right? The question is, who do you play? And that's where it's going to come down to the nuts and bolts of it. So for right now, I'm leaning towards Giannis and I'm leaning towards Kyrie, but that could change as the day goes on. I'm going to do a lot of digging into this game. Secondary guy, like I say, Curry, and then we'll see what we can fit. But there's no possible way you can just take a one-off in this game or pass this game, because there's no doubt in my mind 2 or 3 minimal guys will be in the optimal from this game. Just too many possessions, too much scoring, too much talent. It's just a fantastic DFS game here. By the way, Milwaukee's on the first night of a back-to-back. Milwaukee's 8th in pace and Brooklyn 11th, so that helps. Defensively, these two teams have not been that sharp, just middle of the road in the league, 14th and 15th. So everything comes together to really a perfect storm of DFS points galore in this Milwaukee-Brooklyn game. All right, talked a lot about that one and the first one because I'm going to have 7/8 of my, roster filled here. I'm going to be early in the lead, so I'll be cheering. I won't be taking screenshots, though, until we get into these later games because I know how fast that can turn. All right, the next game's also a 7:30 game. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Atlanta Hawks. Not a bad game. Atlanta's favored by 6. It's a 228 total. 111 implied for Cleveland, 117 for the Atlanta Hawks. Cleveland injuries, Rondo questionable. He may get back in to back up Garland. We'll follow that news. And of course, their 2 bigs, Allen and Mobley, are out. Huge for them. We saw that Dallas handled them yesterday, and this is the second night of that back-to-back for Cleveland on the road. So not an easy task going into Atlanta tonight for the Cavaliers, shorthanded and on a back-to-back. Atlanta is on the second night of a back-to-back as well, so that evens the playing field a little bit. We have questionable tags on two forwards that matter. Gallinari, who's been starting since Collins went down, and then Jalen Johnson, who filled in an emergency type case and played very well. But neither one will be needed that much, more than likely, because it looks like we're going to get John Collins back. Will he have a minutes restriction? It hasn't been announced yet, but we will be following that very closely. Also, Skylar Mays is expected to be available for this game. So a couple of things, how are the two teams going to react to the second night of a back-to-back? Both teams trying to win for positioning for the playoffs here. It's an important game. You have poor pace, though, and good defense on the Cleveland side. Pace 27th for Cleveland, 19th for Atlanta. So that's why you have the 228 total, and it's quite a bit lower total in that Bucks-Brooklyn game. Defensively, Cleveland 6th, but certainly nowhere near that without the two defensive prowess interior players in Allen and Mobley. Those guys just dominate the paint area, and with those two missing, it's a different ball game. For Atlanta, they're 26th, so they have been terrible defensively. So we'll see. What does this game look like? Well, Darius Garland, always a decent play, but at 10-1 and maybe Rondo backing him up, it's hard for me not to spend that money in the prior games and really go for Garland. But this could be one of those games where he goes ballistic. We know Atlanta's backcourt is not good defensively at all. It does help a little having Collins' presence back in the paint defensively. So probably not going to go up to Garland. LeVert, now that he's starting, he's 5'8". He's always in discussion for me until his price goes up. He's starting to play better, much better in the starting rotation, and his minutes are much safer now. Lauri Markkanen, 6'4", not a bad play. He's been scoring the ball, but again, John Collins back, a little bit better matchup there. So possibility. Kevin Love was horrible the last go around, so I'm a pass on him at 5'9". You got the cheap guys. Moses Brown, who started at center, he's 3'2". You're going to get some of these other deeper bench guys, just not worth the gamble on a 5-game slate to go down to any of them. Also, Okoro, Stevens, those guys, just not in play, even in GPPs for me. On the Atlanta side, you get cheap prices on everybody but Trey, and that makes it interesting. Collins coming back would more than likely be on some type of restriction, so I'm not going to consider him. The guys I'm considering, though, are Herter at 5'4", Hunter at 4'9", and maybe Capella at 6'2". The center position isn't exactly loaded today, but with Collins coming back, depending on how much he's going to play, not sure I really expect the impact for Capella to be there. And again, Okongwu's getting a good chunk of those minutes. So more than likely, the value plays of Herter or Hunter would come into play. All right, we move to an 8 o'clock game. It's the LA Clippers and Chicago Bulls. Chicago's favored by 221 total. 109.5 implied for the the Clippers, and 111.5 for the Chicago Bulls. Coming into this game, injury-wise, guys out for the Clippers are Boston, Leonard, Powell, and Preston. We know Paul George is back. He looked great in his first game. For the Bulls, probable tag on Zach LaVine, and we know Lonzo Ball remains out. So as you notice, a lot of these teams, the ones that are in the hunt, now that we're down in the last 8 games or so, 8 or 9 games, you're seeing regular rotations, guys in, trying to get some chemistry before the playoffs, and this is one of those games that fits that bill as well. It's the first night of a back-to-back for the Clippers. As far as pace, below average, 18 and 16 here. Clippers have played very good D under the circumstances, 8th in the league in defense with this backup group, but now with Paul George back, they'll probably move up. Defensively, Chicago's had its struggles. They are 20th, so some possibilities there. As far as how this game rolls out, this is the game that I have very little interest in, to be honest with you. Reggie Jackson's fair at 6'6", but there's been some inconsistencies there. I'm not ready to pay up 9-4 for Paul George. I know everybody went crazy how good he looked in the first game. So go for it if you think that it's time. I'm going to wait another game or two. After that, it's a crapshoot. No thank you for the combination of Batum, Zubats, Mann, Kennard, Covington, Hartenstein, Coffey. They're all getting minutes. The only guy that because he's dumped below 5K is Marcus Morris, who's gotten some minutes taken away recently. So I'm not sure that I'll go with him, but 4.9 for Marcus Morris is tempting. But I need to do a little more homework there. I don't want a Marcus Morris to take down my lineup with, one of his 15 DFS point nights. So if there's a possibility I see that he can get a 30-point night at that 4.9 rate, then, it's doable. But on the fence, for the Bulls, you've got your dilemma, 8K Levine, 8.4 DeRozan, 8.1 Vuk. So now we've got all three of them almost the same price in essence. Do you trust the group of them? Is this somewhere that you can go to have a couple of them stacked up and be contrarian? You absolutely could, but that negative correlation, I think, is very difficult. So in my opinion, the best play there, if you can fit them, is make that decision between Levine, DeRozan, and Vuk, and then roll from there. Vuk at 8.1 is tempting here against the interior for the Clippers. I think, DeRozan, now that he's in realistic price range of, this 8.4 number after being over 10 for quite some time, is also doable. I don't know if I'll make it to any of them based on all the salary I'm spending in those first two games, but they are certainly within consideration, and I'd love to be able to squeeze one of those guys in there. All right, we've got to wait 2 full hours for this late game. What a terrible game to have to wait for, too, because it's always the stinking Lakers in this late night game all by itself. It's the LA Lakers and the Utah Jazz. So how many people are going to have exposure in this game is going to be the $1 million question. Utah's a double-digit favorite at 13. We know the Lakers just look like dog doo-doo. It's only a 227 total, so it's not great. 107 applied for the Lakers, 120 for the Jazz, which is pretty aggressive. But my goodness, you've got first night of a back-to-back for the poor Lakers as it is. They've fallen out of even the play-in tournament. They're sitting 11th right now, and there's not going to be any Anthony Davis or LeBron James again today. So are they throwing up the white flag? Is it over? Are they not even going to get the play-in? What's going to go on here? It's, Utah could easily smash them. Let's look at the injuries first. Wenyen Gabriel, questionable. And Davis, doubtful. I have him out for sure. LeBron James, out for sure. For Utah, Bogdanovich has constantly been on that questionable tag, which he is again. Same thing with Daniel House. So we'll see if either one of those is in. We know Forrest and Gobert's backup Whiteside are out. This is a frustrating game to look at. It's a risk all the way around. The Lakers are 7th in pace, which is good, decent. Jazz are only 22nd, though. Defensively, Lakers are 22nd, probably way worse certainly without Davis, who's been out quite some time, but without LeBron as well, although this has not been LeBron's best defensive year. And then Utah's 12th. So they've hung in there. They were in that top 10 for a long time. So are there any plays here? I guess you're going to have those stalwarts that refuse to give up on Russell Westbrook, that are looking for that breakout triple-double, break the slate game. But he's still 8-6. And there's so many good pay-up options in those early games. I just doubt that I'm going to do it. I understand, if you want to roll the dice, if you have any late swap, which this is the only game, so I don't know how you can risk it, and you're way behind and your last ditch effort is to, flip Westbrook in there and hope he goes for 60 or something. But man, that's, pulling for straws here against a pretty stout Utah team. And Westbrook just has not been consistently good at all this year. Malik Monk's the best play to me in this game. He's the guy I'll get to. He's 5'5". he's going to be wildly popular. But you know what? He's the guy to me that can score out of this group. He could shoot, he could score it, and they need him to score. Because the other guys they're playing, I'm not going to consider any of these guys. Austin Reeves, Stanley Johnson, Dwight Howard, even Carmelo Anthony, THT, if Gabriel plays, Augustine's getting minutes, Bradley, Ariza, Bazemore, Ellington. You never know if any of those guys are going to play being so shorthanded, but they're all terrible. So to me, it's, if you have the guts and glory and you need the Westbrook for the crazy takedown, I get it. I'm not going there. Malik Monk's the only guy that I have on my build right now from the Lakers side. On Utah, you've got a couple of different opportunities here. If it doesn't blow out, Donovan Mitchell at 8-8 be a nice little hammer to have in that late game if we could get him there. But if it does blow out, they'll certainly not play him extended minutes. The same could be said for Rudy Gobert. He could be a takedown specialist here at only 7-7 against Dwight Howard. Who knows how long Dwight's going to play, if he's going to get hurt, if he's going to get mad and thrown out. You have like all this concern and drama when you have Dwight Howard involved, and who knows what's going to happen there. So I do think Gobert is a terrific play at 7-7. I would like to get him in there. I'm going to have to do some juggling to make it happen. But for anybody that wants to stack up both Mitchell and Gobert, if they think the Lakers pull one out of a miracle and keep this game close throughout, it makes sense to me, because really the other guys aren't giving you a ton. Conley at 6K. We don't know if Bogdanovich is going to play. O'Neal never gives you much. Clarkson's had a terrible year. House, we don't know if he's going to play. And then you just got bench guys, from there. So really it's all about Mitchell and Gobert and Monk as the three guys I think that are playable here. But the question is, what does your build look like? For a 5-game slate, I feel like I'm trying to build off of a almost 8 or 9 game slate, because there are so many strong plays here and so many buy-up opportunities and not a ton of value. Now, will we have value open up as the afternoon goes on? Hopefully, but it's not as likely as you look at. We don't have any huge players that we think are questionable here like we normally do. So you're going to be able to build some stuff, get some lineup set, and take it from there, and probably be pretty steady when lock rolls around. If you want some help doing that, we're the ones, dfscoachtalk.com. We provide full lineups for your cash lineup for FanDuel and Yahoo. We also provide a full lineup for FanDuel and Yahoo for a GPP lineup for multi-entry. And then on DraftKings, we give you our famous DFS coach's clipboard, which is exclusive to what we do. We give you a 5-man core, and then we fill out the clipboard with other players we're recommending to fill that in, staying within those DraftKings guidelines. So that is what I've got today, my friends. It is an interesting card for only 5 games. I'm excited about it. I think there's a lot of great plays, a lot of great opportunities here. And then tomorrow will be a lot of fun. We're going to be back tomorrow for a 10-game Friday slate. I'll be back with Crash, and we'll put together a really, really good lineup for you. And we'll put our prize picks plays in there. And we're talking about also tomorrow doing a 2 brains are better than 1 FanDuel lineup, which we'll probably do on Friday also. So that is it. Really appreciate everybody checking it out. Please take a second, give us that thumbs up, give us a subscribe, hit the little alert button up in the top corner. Our YouTube thumbs up likes, that means the world to us, because that moves us up that algorithm. And we're trying to just grow, get the word out there, and go from there. So definitely tune in. Check out our prize picks plays. I do like some prize picks plays today. Seth Curry, I think, is a good sleeper for points and 3-pointers. I think you can come up with a couple of other plays here that we'll be releasing to our Discord users throughout the afternoon. And then we'll place a 3 or 4 team prize picks play 30 minutes before lock, when we also post our lineup. So if you want to be part of the family, dfscoachtalk.com. Thank you so much for listening in. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Have a terrific Thursday, and we'll see you again tomorrow when we look to crush it in NBA DFS.